Hafa and welcome to another episode of CNMI Weekly. I'm your host, Thomas Manglona, reporting on Saipan. First up, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange bringing international attention to the Northern Marianas as he walked out of the district court a free man. Here's our coverage of the historic event unfolding here in the Western Pacific. Julian Assange is free. The WikiLeaks founder reached a plea deal with the U.S. Justice Department, and the federal judge on Saipan sentenced him to time served in the United Kingdom. His attorney spoke outside the courthouse.
We firmly believe that Mr. Assange never should have been charged under the Espionage Act and engaged in exercise that journalists engage in every day, and we're thankful that they do. It is appropriate, though, for this fight to end, and it was appropriate for the judge, and as she did today, to determine that no additional incarceration of Mr. Assange would be fair, would be appropriate, and it is time for him to be reunited with his family.
Assange did not make any comments after the hearing. He was indicted during former President Donald Trump's administration over WikiLeaks' mass release of secret U.S. documents, which were leaked by Chelsea Manning, a former U.S. military intelligence analyst who was also prosecuted under the Espionage Act. After his sentencing on Wednesday, he made his way back to Australia, his country of citizenship. Saipan was selected because Assange did not want to travel to the continental U.S. and its close proximity to Australia. In a packed courtroom of journalists and NMI residents, Assange said, "I believe the First Amendment and the Espionage Act are in contradiction with each other, but I accept that it would be difficult to win such a case given all these circumstances." At the end of the proceeding, Chief Judge Ramona Manglona told Assange he would be able to walk out of the courtroom a free man. KUAM asked his attorney what the future of Assange's WikiLeaks will be.
The work will continue, and Mr. Assange, I have no doubt, will be a continuing force for freedom of speech and transparency in government. He is a powerful voice, and a voice that cannot and should not be silenced.
The DOJ said, pursuant to the plea agreement, Assange is prohibited from returning to the United States without permission. Overnight, the world's focus shifted from Saipan to Australia, hours after WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange walked out of the U.S. District Court for the Northern Marianas a free man.
We are absolutely thrilled that Julian is now home in Australia.
Assange raising his fist in the air before embracing his family after incarceration in the United Kingdom. While his 14-year chapter closes, his story and fight continue.
This is the criminalisation of journalism. And while the plea deal does not set a judicial precedent, it's not a court decision, the prosecution itself sets a precedent that can be used against the rest of the media.
The events unfolding on Saipan brought international media attention, hitting the island like lightning. Now in the calm after the storm, we spoke with residents who watched history unfold in the courtroom. James Kingman is a special prosecutor with the Northern Marianas Attorney General's office, running anti-corruption efforts. He wasn't involved in this case. He still questions why it happened here.
Most obvious answer is that it made it very hard for there to be press coverage. The idea that it's simply because it was close to Australia doesn't really match with the availability of other district courts that are easier to access.
Also in the courtroom was second-year Cleveland State University law student Brianna Hunter. The 25-year-old is home for the summer.
I would have never imagined that coming home to Saipan this summer to visit and observe legal proceedings here on island would have led me to sitting in Chief Judge Manglona's courtroom at the district court for the NMI to watch Julian Assange walk free.
She watched the case with her friend, 24-year-old Zeno de Leon Guerrero, a Mount Carmel school teacher and aspiring lawyer.
Just wanting to be a witness to such a historical and pivotal moment was just one thing. And then two, just understanding the significance of that event in terms of like how we view our governments, a free press, and the freedom of speech.
And when we return, our exclusive one-on-one interview with CNMI Governor Arnold Palacios, who shares the events leading up to Assange's arrival in the NMI. Welcome back to another episode of CNMI Weekly. We continue our coverage of the Assange hearing on Saipan as we speak with Governor Arnold Palacios, who shares the events leading up to Assange's arrival and how the Northern Marianas assisted. The big news around the world this week is WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. We understand the ambassador to the U.S. From Australia may stopped earlier, but just bring us through the timeline of when he found out, who came and when.
So, last Friday, the Australian ambassador to Palau, Ambassador Turner, came on island and we met, and she was asking for a favor on behalf of the Australian government for ground support. She was saying that she indicated that the Australian ambassador to the U.S., Kevin Rudd, Ambassador Rudd, who will be coming on island Saturday night. And, of course, that perked you up, right? As an Australian ambassador to the U.S. is coming on island, what's going on? And, I had to not get too overly expressively excited about that. And I asked her, says, she indicated that something is going on and that Ambassador Rudd was going to be briefing me. And so I said, okay, we will do that, and we'll wait for Ambassador Rudd to get on island for whatever briefing that. So he was supposed to come in on Saturday night, but ended up coming in Sunday morning. So, courtesy on behalf of the Commonwealth government, the people of the government, Commonwealth, and also as an American entity, this is an ambassador, a diplomat from Australia to the U.S. So, I went up, had the courtesy go up, respectfully met him at the airport, and had him brought down to his hotel. He wanted to be low-key, and we respected that. So he enjoyed Saipan quietly on Sunday, and we had some of the staff make sure that he gets to where he wanted to get, and then we had I hosted him for dinner. The Lieutenant Governor and I hosted him for dinner on Monday night, and then we agreed that we were going to meet Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock here. And so we did that. And in hindsight, I figured out that why 10 o'clock. Because that was when he told me what was happening. But 9 o'clock, the news broke. The news broke through the U.S. Department of Justice, and that was the cue that that he could reveal what was going on. So, then he told me what was going to happen and what they needed as support, ground support, very low-key ground support. Not a lot of flash bulbs and a lot of sirens going on just to pick them up at the airport. And there were probably 8 passengers on that charter flight. And so then he told me who it was. Just kind of. But prior to that, even CBP, because they found out that I also wanted to go and meet the diplomatic party that was coming in on the flight with Ambassador Rudd, CBP kind of told me who it was, and Ambassador Rod also understands, like, Gov, if you don't really feel comfortable going up there, because we're just going to go up there asking if we can just pick them up and have them cleared at the tarmac and then go down to your hotel for a couple of hours and then head to the courts and go through that whole process. And as soon as that's done, they were going to head back up to the airport and fly out. And so we agreed to that, made sure that to the extent that we could give them all a ground support. Some drivers from even my own PSD was involved, and Ports Police and some of DPS's own, our own folks that are used to doing this, were the ones that escorted the whole diplomatic party.
So on Wednesday morning when he arrived, you met Mr. Assange on the tarmac?
No, I didn't. No, I wasn't.
Were you at the airport at all?
No. So I was just, just so that there's no other delay in them getting processed and all that. I just decided, okay, let's just get this thing done and make them go through the process without any side stories or whatnot. So I got all the information and the clippings from you and the other media outlet also, obviously, but you guys covered it well, so I was pretty much informed through the press.
So at no point did you meet Mr. Assange?
No.
All right,
no.
Thank you. I did want to ask for your reaction. Obviously, this is the type of attention that this comes with doesn't happen every day for us. So as governor, what did you think of this moment in history unfolding right here at home?
Yeah, of course, we need to make sure also, the key element that I want to be assured of is this. Okay, so this is not just he's going to go to the court, and then this was something that was prearranged already through our Federal Department of Justice, and that everything was agreed on, and that's fine with me. But my reaction is that the windfall, it could have been very negative, but it didn't. It gave us a lot of exposure, and in thinking about it, I'm reflecting on it. Mr. Assange been basically incarcerated for 14 years, and and I think he paid his dues through those years, but who am I to say that, right? The Department of Justice obviously felt the same way, and that's why they crafted a mutually agreeable plea agreement that both the Australian government himself and the Department of Justice could agree to. And so everything worked out. I'm glad that things went as smoothly as it has. And I thought not just the community, but I think even the press, the world press, were very respectful and courteous to this gentleman and the whole process that went on down at the courthouse. So I believe it was a windfall for the Commonwealth, not just for exposure, but in a small role of being the location of putting a closure and justice to this case that was again agreeable to the U.S. government, the Australian government, and Mr. Assange himself. So it's quite an experience. Obviously, this is not going to happen again for a long time. I'm not sure, but yeah, this was This was a very big moment for the Commonwealth in terms of exposure, but also playing a role, albeit very brief, but very significant role in our district courts.
Don't go away, we'll have more CNMI Weekly right after this. And now to some of the local headlines making news here on Saipan. Photos in black and white, images in full color, and flyers from the 1980s all in one room, capturing the more than 4 decades of Hyatt history on Saipan.
Hyatt Regency Saipan is the first international hotel in the CNMI, and that in itself speaks tons of accomplishment. It has started or revolutionized the hospitality industry here in the CNMI.
Bea O'Malley is the marketing and communications manager. She said the hotel welcomes the community for one last walk down memory lane in a mini museum open to the public every day from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at their lobby before they permanently close their doors on June 30.
We would like to invite everyone, our guests, community members, to come and see how Hyatt Regency Saipan evolved throughout the years. It highlights all our journey, Hyatt Regency Saipan's era, and guests can also take a peek of the people, the men and women who have worked here since the beginning and until today.
Their closure is a sign of the times in a sinking island economy, with nowhere near the number of visitor arrivals needed to simply break even. The hotel is already putting up a fence around the entire building. Staff have already made plans to transition to other hotels or different jobs. It's unclear what the future of the public property will be since it signed a 40-year lease renewal in 2021. The hotel has already shuttered most of its restaurants and services in its final weeks.
Hyatt Regency Saipan is also known to connect with guests through memorable goodbyes. So that is the Hyatt touch. And that is the kind of memory and good experience that we want to be remembered by.
Innovative Readiness Training Operation Wellness has been on Rota, Tinian, and Saipan since June 10.
So currently we're total patients seen has been about 2,800, so a little over there. Probably by the end of today we should reach around 3,000 total patients seen. As far as procedures, we're a little over 18,000. So at the end of today, we should reach around 20,000, just based on the current projections. As far as the fair market value of service, we are currently sitting at 951,000, which by the end of the day, we'll definitely be over the million mark, the $1 million mark.
This year's mission is longer than last year's due to demand. The Army, Reserve, Air National Guard, Air Force, and Navy are involved. They've brought in 300 service members across 2 rotations for medical services at no cost to the community on a first-come, first-served basis.
These guys surpass all expectations, my expectations at least, that they were able to adapt and overcome and carry on with the mission. And I think that's one of the most important testament, for this military training, is how they're able to adapt to circumstances that are just thrown at you at a minute's notice.
Those circumstances also include logistics for Rota and Tinian.
We've worked with numerous organizations in order for us to either boat things there. We've flown things there to make sure Tinian and Rota are both set up. So now we just moved into our second phase of the operation where there's a second group that's there.
The mission is expected to provide a boost to the economy and strengthen local ties before it wraps up on June 28.
Everybody's been very hospitable, friendly. So it's been great, and the experience has been awesome.
Part of the training is as well as building relationships with the community, and the community has been so welcoming and so hospitable to us. It's been a great experience for all of us here. I've heard nothing but good things from all the service members that have been here on the island.
Welcome back to the program. Now, we also spoke with CNMI Governor Arnold Palacios, who gave an update about the 902 talks with the White House. Here's more. On 902, I know there's been a few letters here and there, but what is the update as of today?
Okay, so as of today, the White House, and just because you were very persistent to come up and see me, I guess you're going to be the first one with the story. Okay, so the latest communication we got from the White House is they're now identifying the key representatives. That's in the process, and we will they're trying their best to expedite that appointment. They got to figure out from their end who's going to be the president's representative. So we need to be patient a little bit, but the assurance is that it will happen.
So the White House has formally communicated that the 902 talks, they've accepted the request.
They've accepted my letter, and they're going through the process of identifying the key individuals that is going to represent the federal side. Now, there's also other key areas. One is funding it, and we've basically made those proposals already across to our federal agencies, and that's also being vetted at the final stage. So things will occur. I mean, I wish I had a concrete answer today, Thomas, but I know that the needle has gone up, and it's just a matter of time. Now, knowing all that, it behooves me and our team in the Commonwealth to start putting together our thoughts. And I have a binder here, that reading material that I do take home and go through, and I've asked the Senate for their representative to be on the team also, and member of the House. And I've also asked somebody that's been in government and has had experience to kind of head the team, the technical part of this team, Mike Sablon, and is putting together a small cadre of experts, subject area experts, to help in that regards. And so hopefully, and I was thinking with all this that has occurred in the last 3 weeks in my schedule, I've had probably an hour, 2 hours of discussion with Mike Sablon, and where we're going to go forward with this, because by next week we should start having our own working session to start really looking at the other parts that we have to put on the table, because the last thing I want to see is we're not very clear as to what it is that we want to discuss, and we want to be very clear and not wordy in what we would like to see discussed. And so I know that usually the first round in the first round of meetings, the first day immediately would be how the discussions is going to go. So basically the ground rules, and then begin the talks. And I know that the last one, it was like maybe 3 sessions. One was in DC, one was in Hawaii, and one was here. But even in between those, our technical people were meeting to iron out some of these issues.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of CNMI Weekly. We'll see you right here, same time, same place next week.